I was married before I went on service. And I went in on May 25th, 1944. I was 25 years old, and I got drafted, of course. Well, I hated to leave the family because it was being married for a couple of years and then leaving like that way. It was tough. Of course, you have a heavy heart and things like that. But you have to shake it off, go forward. I was married for 2 years. I got married right during the war. Take a chance. Met her in high school sweetheart. We just hit it off, that was all. She was a sports figure, and so was I.
The sneak attack succeeded in sinking or damaging 19 American ships, destroying 150 planes, and killing 3,077 men.
I was in Chicago at that time, and it was quite a thing to think about what was going on. Of course, we all got mad. What was you going to do?
As Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy, I have directed that all measures be taken for our defense.
When we came home, then they gave us all numbers, didn't they? Draft numbers.
Hostilities exist. There is no blinking at the fact that our people, our territory, and our interests are in grave danger. With confidence in our armed forces, with the unbounding determination
Japanese planes had been sowing death and destruction.
we will gain the inevitable triumph, so help us God.
My number just didn't come up, that was all. I worked at Greenleaf's and I was working on transfer machines and screw machines and woodworking machines, all for the government. So we got deferments. Well, my number never came up. I don't know why, but I knew it was going to happen. I got drafted, of course, like everybody else. So from there, I went into boot camp for about 6 weeks. And after that, I had a few days off with the wife. Then I had to report out to Iowa State College at Ames, Iowa in September. And I was out there for 16 weeks as an electrician. And after that, I took off and went down to Oakland from there. And after Oakland, I went out on a Kaiser Liberty ship going to the Hawaiian Islands. And after that, it was, I don't know, a few days maybe. We were in Honolulu. And I went to get on a ship. They put me on a tanker. Imagine, a tanker. So we got on that tanker with some other fellows. And that night we had a general quarters. And we thought, this is the end. If they ever hit that thing with a torpedo, we'll be gone. But we managed to get by. And we got on the tanker, and they put us from a tanker to a aircraft carrier. And we went across on a line, on a breech buoy. And then from the carrier, I went to the destroyer the same way on a breech buoy. And it was raining all this time. Then from the destroyer, I got on and got another ride and went over to the battleship, the Wisconsin. And I stepped my foot on there, and the foot was just like cement. It sure felt good. No movement at all. Well, it was only 880 feet long. It had 3 decks below, plus everything up above. And I was on the power gang, on the boards, on the electrical boards. So I didn't get to see anything up there. And we stood our watches on the electrical boards in the engine rooms. And I was only a fireman at the time. And a fireman is not supposed to stand watches on the electrical board. But with my experience that I had in the factory here, they let me go ahead and stand the watch. And what skirmishes we got into, I don't remember because I never saw anything.
A battlefield, a vast fortress-studded plain on which key strongholds anchor a Japanese defense line guarding the heart of the homeland. The American front lines had advanced to Guam and Saipan. Ahead now stood Iwo Jima, the most heavily fortified island in the world. Buried deep underground lay 20 years of Jap preparation for murder. 20,000 of their toughest fighting men waited for us to make the first move.
And they don't have to wait long. The Navy begins to soften up the island so we can land.
Vice Admiral Mark A. Mitcher is in command of a powerful task force of the Pacific Fleet, is now attacking enemy aircraft, air bases, and other military targets in and around Tokyo. Surface units of the Pacific Fleet are bombarding Iwo Jima.
Planes from our carrier force take off to strafe and bomb. Gunboats move in close to work over enemy beach installations.
We are going to the line from which we will shortly leave. You can hear our motor, the engine of this tank lighter, roaring as we move quickly through the water up to a distance of about 2,000 yards from the shore. There's all hell to pay directly ahead of us. The beach looks as though it's practically on fire.
D-Day, the beginning of the toughest 26 days in Marine Corps history. 500 landing craft in 10 waves advance on 3,000 yards of beach.
This is Staff Sergeant Alvin Giuseppe, Jr., and all around us is a scene of desolation and death.
See, I wasn't in any battle stuff like some of these fellows were. Some of these guys like the Marines and the Army in trenches, and they had a rough time. I was always down below.
Suribachi is ours, a toehold on the southern tip of the island.
Okinawa-jima was the scene of the last great battle of the Pacific War. The capital and nucleus of the bead-like Ryukyu chain, Okinawa was only 495 miles from the coast of China, 380 miles from Formosa, and 415 miles from Kyushu. It screened the East China Sea, insulated the teeming coastal cities of China, and it was the lock on Japan's southern door. A vital link in the imperial mechanism, Okinawa was the funnel through which the enemy fed and reinforced his embattled fortresses to the south. Japanese aircraft, merchantmen, and fleet units paused at Okinawa's airfields and harbors en route to South China, Malaya, the Indies, and the Carolines. Okinawa and the Ryukyus was the Japanese jugular vein. In American hands, Okinawa would represent the first conquest of Japanese home soil, for this island was an imperial prefecture. In American hands, Okinawa would mean the reduction of Japan from a powerful empire to an isolated land awaiting the shock of invasion. Under ideal sea conditions and covered by naval gunfire, assault battalions of the 4th and 22nd Marines headed for the beaches of Okinawa.
Okinawa, strategic link in the Ryukyu chain, an island strong point in the southern defense system guarding the Japanese mainland. On L-Day, April 1st, 1945, it is the assigned mission of the amphibious forces of the 10th Army. Backed by heavy fire from the naval support ships, assault troops of the 24th Army Corps and the 3rd Marine Amphibious Corps head for the beach.
Then they started firing the 16 inchers off, and you couldn't feel much down there. We're about 3 decks below. And they did that for quite a while. It was on Okinawa, mostly.
Landings made on adjacent beaches hit the east-central shore of Okinawa and are relatively unopposed. The 24th Army Corps, consisting of 3 divisions in assault, has pushed south and east toward the main city and airfield of Naha. Here the 1st and 6th Marine Divisions, comprising the assault force of the 3rd Amphibious Corps, drive inland to the east and northward. They are committed to severing the island and securing the whole northern section. Encountering little more than light and sporadic rearguard opposition, the assault makes such rapid progress inshore that by 11 o'clock on L-Day, the L+3 objective line has already been reached.
Then after that, we just patrolled up and down the coast in the Pacific, outside of the Japanese island there. At the bottom of the Philippines, we got off for a while, got back on. Then we came back and picked up, I don't know how many Marines we had picked up to bring back to the United States. And at the same time, they were signing the peace treaty with the Japanese. And of course, the Wisconsin was supposed to be the one going in. But you can't guess what happened. President Truman, you know where he was from? He was from Missouri. So the Missouri got to go in. We didn't get there. So we just turned around and came back home. Hit Honolulu one more time, got off, probably got drunk, I don't know. And after that, we came back to the United States and got back into Frisco. I would say about, was on Navy Day, I think. And we got into Frisco. I stayed there for a while. I got a chance to see my wife. She was in Santa Barbara at the time. After that, we went down the coast of California, around the Horn, around into the Philippines, And we went through the canal, the Panama Canal, and it squealed all the way through. They had those socks on the side, and it just made a terrible noise. The ship was a little wide. But we got through, came around the East Coast, went up to Norfolk. At Norfolk, they gave us a fast send-off. We got on a train and came into Chicago, and I was discharged the 6th of February, 1946. So I wasn't even in 2 years. I got out on account of my age, being married, and being in the Pacific. That's the end of the story. I didn't see any combat action. When you're down below like that, you don't see that.
You knew when the battles were taking place.
Oh, yeah.
Did you have any different duties during those times, or was it
No.
still the same?
Same one. This is the only decoration I ever had. Those 3 stars are for battle stars. But what makes you mad is the war that was supposed to end all wars, and look what happened. Korea, Vietnam, now this is going on over there. What can you believe anymore? I imagine you've had quite a few interviews with people who've had been through something, with injuries and things like that. I just hope everything would end up so they wouldn't have to go in anybody else. They don't need it. There'll never be peace in the world. Too many greedy people.
I wasn't sure about taking this class at first. I even dropped it at registration. Of course, I ended up adding it back on the first day of school. When I chose Don, I didn't get exactly what I expected. I came into the class thinking I was going to make a documentary about some man who was dug down in a hole at one moment and shooting Nazis in the next. And Don's story was nothing like that. However, that's what made his story unique. It gave me a new perspective on the whole matter. When people think of battle, they think of the men covered in blood, but those who work behind the scenes go mostly unnoticed. Taking this class has opened my eyes to the sacrifice of the soldiers beyond the battlefield. When I first met Don at the pasta dinner, I was pretty anxious about meeting him. At the pasta dinner, Stangy came up to me telling me he had like 8 people with him, and I panicked. But it turned out that I had nothing to worry about. I was actually pretty at ease with them. Although he had never met me, it felt like I had known him for months.